A Su-27 fighter jet belonging to the Ukrainian Air Force targeted the area where the occupying Russian army soldiers were gathered. The invaders, who were occupying a large area and several buildings, were hit with US-made GBU-39 and GBU-62 aerial bombs provided to Ukraine as part of military assistance. As a result, the buildings were blown up, and the occupying soldiers there were killed. It should be noted that recently, Ukrainian aviation has increasingly targeted the positions, ammunition depots and military headquarters of the occupying Russian army soldiers both in the occupied territories and in the border regions of Russia. As a result of these strikes, which were mainly carried out with US and French-made aerial bombs, a large number of the occupying army's soldiers and combat equipment were destroyed.
Vladimir Ouchetkin suggested that there are people in Russia who are interested in organizing provocations and terrorist attacks in Moscow. Their goal is to frame and discredit the leadership of the FSB in Moscow. The founder of No to Gulag voiced piquant details behind the scenes of the Russian FSB, where a war for power is underway. There are several groups of influence in Russia, and one of these groups really wants to achieve rotation and change of the FSB leadership. I admit that, in addition to the Ukrainian Mossad, other structures may be involved, in whose interests terrorist attacks, sabotage, explosions, and so on may be committed tomorrow precisely in order to place all the blame on those generals who lead the Moscow Directorate, who are responsible for this topic, in order to seize control over the key Moscow region. And after all, the FSB has it not only for Moscow, but also for the Moscow region. This is the most powerful, the most well-funded division of the FSB of Russia. Whoever leads the FSB in Moscow and the Moscow region, in fact, controls everything that happens in Russia. Whoever rules the FSB in Moscow and the Moscow region rules virtually everything that happens in Russia. There is direct access to the president and to the director of the FSO and to the director of the FSB. So I admit that in addition to the Ukrainian Mossad, which of course regards the Russian military located in Moscow as a legitimate target, in addition to this, there are several more beneficiaries who benefit from something happening tomorrow. Vladimir Ouchetkin warned. Earlier, Ouchetkin spoke about a miracle that happened which could change the course of the war in the near future. The ceasefire declared by Putin, which in fact did not exist, should be perceived as the calm before the storm, Vladimir Ouchetkin suggested, since the Kremlin has a certain amount of pressure on the US, which positions itself as a mediator in the negotiations, the pressure on Ukraine may soon increase significantly. The founder of No to Gulag shared his feelings about the consequences of the Easter truce. It seems to me that this is the calm before the storm. These days there is such a ringing silence. The US is threatening to leave the negotiations if there is no progress. We understand that Putin, on the Russian side, is pushing through his conditions and the signing of the agreement. Russian forces are incredibly dangerous, oftentimes fanatical or desperate people that would torture you and kill you if they caught you, Mesa Gford told Business Insider. By late 2024, 184 Ukrainian prisoners of war, including 169 military personnel and 15 civilians, had died in Russian captivity. Many others are still remaining in detention as Moscow refuses to exchange them and has even opened a black market of POWs. Meanwhile, the number of Ukrainians officially listed as missing under special circumstances is estimated to be about 70,000, including 2,470 children. The British volunteer took part in the battles for Kherson and Lyman, having previously fought in Syria. Due to the actions of Russian forces, his unit adopted a strict rule. No one in the unit was allowed to be taken alive. Although there have been reports of mistreatment of Russian prisoners by Ukrainian forces, according to the UN, such abuse typically ends once detainees are transferred to official detention facilities. The same cannot be said for the Russian side. International investigations have revealed systematic torture, beatings, electric shocks, sexual violence, suffocation, sleep deprivation, mock executions. Some prisoners did not survive. Russia has gone to every depth of depravity you could possibly imagine, emphasized Gford. He was genuinely shocked by what he witnessed during the battles in Ukraine. In his view, many of the brutal methods used by Russian forces stem from their experience in the Syrian campaign, where they fought alongside Bashar al-Assad's regime since 2015. He believes Russia adopted ISIS tactics, the same terrorist group he fought in Syria. In that country, according to the volunteer, he saw cages, torture tools and mattresses with chains in areas controlled by militants. I thought that the Islamic State was a fringe, that it was a unique thing, he said, but in his view, many of their brutal practices have been adopted by Russia, mainly, I suppose, because they were so effective in Syria. Ramzan Kadirov told journalists of the publication Chechnya Today that he asked for resignation. This is not the first time the head of Chechnya has said this. It is likely that he wants to transfer power to his son, although he is not yet 18 years old. Olga Romanova, chairwoman of the Sidyashchaya Rus charity foundation, expressed this opinion on Channel 24, noting that Kadyrov may already be preparing for death. However, despite the deterioration of his health, it may not come because of this. The head of Chechnya told journalists that he also heard rumors that they wanted to fire him, but he, according to him, asked for it himself. Allegedly, another person will have new initiatives, but still, the decision must be made by Vladimir Putin. According to the head of the charity foundation, Kadyrov has been asking to be dismissed from his post since 2016 because his time has already come. The announcement of his resignation was made in 2020 and 2022. At the same time, it will be difficult to transfer power to his son Adam. He is still a minor. I think Kadyrov is preparing for death. Obviously, it will not be from old age. He is still young. If he did not look like that, he would live to be like Adam, Romanova emphasized. By the way, on May the 7th, a personal meeting between Putin and Kadyrov took place to discuss the socio-economic issues of the Chechen Republic. The Institute for the Study of War reported that during the conversation, the dictator hinted that he was counting on Kadyrov's continued leadership. Kadyrov said earlier this week that he had asked the Kremlin leader to relieve him of his post. The 48-year-old later revised his statement, emphasizing that he would continue to serve Putin as a team player. Some experts speculate that Kadyrov's remarks about stepping down, which he has made several times over the years, are likely part of a strategy to secure financial or other guarantees from Moscow rather than a genuine desire to retire. The speculation follows unconfirmed reports of Kadyrov's deteriorating health and growing tensions with Putin over unauthorized talks with Middle Eastern officials about security guarantees should he step down. Putin appointed Kadyrov in 2007 after the assassination of his father and predecessor, Akhmat Kadyrov. Initially fighting against Russian forces in the First Chechen War, Kadyrov Sr. later switched sides, rising to prominence within Moscow's ranks. In a follow-up post, Kadyrov quoted Putin's dismissal of the rumors about his resignation, saying, "The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated," a line borrowed from American author Mark Twain. Putin added that, "We still have a lot of work to do. I'm following the order of the Supreme Commander." Kadyrov wrote